taking place geopolitically in the midst of growing trade uncertainties globally. What is Ghana doing to leverage the value of its tremendous commodities and natural resources? And how well is Ghana coping with the growing uncertainty right now?
Thank you very much. After the Second World War, we agreed that a multilateral rule-based trading system was a better way to go. And so a lot of work was done by the World Trade Organization, together with all our countries, to set up the rules for trade amongst ourselves. Unfortunately, that system is being appended, and countries have decided to impose tariffs based on their own interests. And so we've transitioned into a transactional world. It sends a signal to Africa that we need to pull ourselves out by our bootstraps, because there's not going to be a free dinner anywhere. And that means that we must, one, mobilize more revenue locally. And I mean, with the assistance of the African Development Bank, I think that we're doing quite fine. But domestically, we must mobilize revenue locally. We must add value to our products, and we must get a better share for the natural resource endowment that God has given us. And so I believe that is a signal to all of us to look inward and see how we can trade more amongst ourselves. Happily, we have the protocol on the African Continental Free Trade Area, which the majority of African nations have ratified. And so what it means is that we have the opportunity to be able to trade amongst ourselves. And I'm happy that the African Development Bank and other partners have focused on investing in the trade infrastructure amongst ourselves. It's not enough to just have a protocol on continental free trade. If you don't have the railways, you don't have the highways, you don't have the aviation connections to be able to exchange goods amongst yourselves, it amounts to naught. And that's why the investment in railways, in ports, in highways and others is very timely. And I think we must take advantage of that. In Ghana, we have expanded our port, and it's become a hub for receiving some of the biggest ships into our port, because we have a deep draft of almost 16 meters. And so once we receive containers bound for any country from Namibia, Angola, Cameroon, all the way to Dakar, we can redistribute. And that means that we can also distribute any products that we have to export to all these other ports. And so that's positioning ourselves to be able to trade more with our colleague African countries.
Thank you very much, President Mahama. But let's also talk about value addition. Everyone in this room likes chocolate. I believe everybody does. But what I do know, and what we do know, is that other than Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, the largest producers of chocolate in the world, both countries only occupy a very, very small portion of the finished goods in terms of cocoa. What is it that your country, in conjunction with Cote d'Ivoire, can do, for example, to increase the level at where you're operating in the value chain globally?
That's why sometimes you notice that the World Economic Order is rigged against Africa. We can increase processing overnight, but you have non-tariff barriers in exporting into some of the markets. Unless they bring a processor from outside, from Europe, who comes and sets up a processing plant and gets all the regulatory things in place. I mean, an indigenous person setting up a processing plant sometimes has a very big difficulty exporting finished products into the EU market and into the American market. But I must say that we've made progress from a low of about 25% processed cocoa. Ghana has risen to about 40%, and I know Cote d'Ivoire is ahead of us. Cote d'Ivoire has done 50%, which is comfortable. And so 50% of Cote d'Ivoire's cocoa is processed domestically. Ghana is at 40%. We hope that over the next 4 or 5 years, we'll reach the stage of Cote d'Ivoire at 50% and push even further.
Thank you very much, President Mahama. We'll go next to Vice President Mpango. Your country has invested